Thank you for coming to my talk today. My name is Sharat Chander. I'm part of the Java Developer Relations team here at Oracle, longtime member of the Java team. And all too often, we spend a lot of our time learning about the technical parts of Java. And that's extremely important. That's why we're here. We're developers. We want to accelerate our knowledge, address the issues of modern application development. But to do that, you need a robust ecosystem of users. And many of us have been part of that ecosystem, whether it's for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years or longer. We always want to be in a position to be able to advance our knowledge, share our knowledge, and participate in the Java community. So this talk is going to cover the many dimensions that the Java Developer Relations team and Oracle and the Java team can offer to you to continue that learning path on your Java journey. Because it's not the destination, it truly is a journey. And hopefully many of you will be continuing to do this as long as I have. This is now my 29th year of using Java. In fact, I know some of you in the audience are probably using Java even longer than me, so maybe you should be giving this talk, and we'll work on that. But let's first just talk about where we are today. So it's really sometimes hard to fathom that in 2 years, we will have reached 30 years, 3 decades of Java servicing the many aspects of application development. I mean, if you just think of the sheer number size of our ecosystem, tens of thousands of businesses, thousands of use cases across hundreds of different verticals, Java has a place. It has a place in terms of solving challenges. It has a place in terms of addressing opportunities. And we see businesses, enterprises, end users all around the world that touch Java in many ways, and we can all learn from that. That's the benefit of a rich and robust ecosystem, is that the source of knowledge, the source of information, the source of learning can come through many vectors of learning. And so part of that is also the fact that Java continues to stay relevant. It is quite amazing to see that the pipeline of innovation that we have here after almost 30 years of Java continues to embrace both the opportunities and the challenges of modern application development. And it's pretty exciting that today we have also launched Java 20. And Java 20 is filled with many features and enhancements that can be worth testing out to see what it can do for your application. Now, that's all great, but we do really have a tension here. As the stewards and leaders of Java, the Java team at Oracle has to balance that. And it is a needle that we have to thread very carefully. There can sometimes be an over-rotation in terms of what is the new cool feature that's out there. And that's sometimes very attractive. The big shiny thing can draw us, just like a moth to a flame. But will that new feature, that new innovation, have longevity? Will it address the sea of issues that I'm currently facing? Or for that matter, can I incorporate that into the investments that I've already made? And so we also have enterprises and businesses and organizations that have made many years of investments in Java that don't want things to break. They just want it to stay stable. And so when we work on development, when we focus on innovation, we're trying to make sure that there is that balance of the past as we look into the future. And sometimes that makes us the marked person in the room. It puts a target on our back, but it's a target that we welcome. We want to make sure that the investments we're putting in Java today aren't here for the short haul, aren't here for the short term, but will have longevity beyond the 28 years of Java we have today. It truly is, what's the next 28 years, or for that matter, the next 30 years of Java? Let's ensure that that innovation and technology still has relevance once we've passed that baton on to the next generation. So how do we do that? Where does that innovation come from? A lot of this is rooted in what we've established around Java at the inception. There's some core virtues and principles in terms of trust, innovation, and predictability that was in the petri dish 28 years ago, which continue to give life to Java. Trust in that we will do this development out in the open with you, allowing you to participate. And we'll look at some of those opportunities in terms of how you can participate and shape the Java community, but also shape Java the technology. Innovation, we don't just rest on our laurels. Again, that fine balancing act of new features coupled with innovation that has been produced and handed over to us incrementally over the years. And then, for that matter, predictability. This is one of the shining areas of Java that is really attractive to me. It's really attractive to the Java team. It's something we had to prove to ourselves. We've now, as many of you know, over the last almost 5 years now, shifted to a 6-month release model, taking away some of that friction of disruption when we used to release Java sometimes every 2 years, every 3 years. It was quite a shock on the system. And we want to take the shock away. No one likes shock. So we want to have less disruption. And in some cases, we just want stability. And when there's some bumps, they're minor bumps that we can get through versus steep Everest-like obstacles. We want to avoid that. And so predictability is important, ensuring that we give Java to you on the dates that we say every 2 months, like clockwork, in March and in September. So those same principles that we apply to Java from a development standpoint, we also apply to Java from an ecosystem standpoint. And that's what's been so fascinating about the last 28 years, is the innovation is built upon people. It's people solving challenges, addressing opportunities. It's people that really does give life to the language and to the platform. So we, as the stewards of Java, have to ensure we have a rich collection of programs and offerings that allow you to continue that journey in terms of ecosystem participation. Part of our job is ensuring you have a career that you can invest in around Java. Extend that career as long as we can to ensure you're meeting not just your career goals, but the needs of where you work, in your enterprise and in your organization. And we also want to ensure that you can also participate with us. So we need to ensure we have those types of programs in terms of participation. How can you give us feedback? How can you give us ideas? How can you give us the things that we may not always see in our blind spots? We have to take accountability of all of that. And so when you have an ecosystem of almost 10 million plus developers, that requires a large collection of programs to extend. Because let's face it, we all have our own modalities that are gravity to us. It attracts us, it gives us life, and is our energy in terms of where we find purpose. And so it's inherent upon us that we provide programs and channels and activities that meet your needs and meet your modalities in terms of that level of engagement and learning. And so there are some programs that are just foundational. Some of these programs, such as the OpenJDK project and the JCP and Java user groups, these have been around for decades. And it's inherent that we continue to invest in these foundational programs that are basically the concrete of our ecosystem. But along with that, we have to introduce new programs. The world is adapting, the world is changing. How we learn, how we share, how we collaborate is also changing. And we need to be as flexible as we can in that delivery of mechanisms. And so we're going to go through a journey in terms of some of these foundational programs, but also go through a journey in terms of some of the new programs that are available to you to allow you to participate and move the Java community forward. So I can think of no better place to start than OpenJDK. This truly is what I would call the sun of Java, the energy, the lifeblood, the place where all of that innovation happens. And sometimes I will get questions, where does the innovation happen? Is it like through some magic process behind closed doors? And the reality is, we do all of our development out in the open. The OpenJDK project, you can actually participate in this. And so I would encourage you, if you want to see at the grassroots level, to get in at the beginning, come and participate at OpenJDK. Take a look at where that innovation is happening. Now, it's not just where the innovation is happening. You can actually see the code check-ins. You can see the conversations. What are some of the decisions we've made? or more importantly, some of the decisions we've avoided, and what was the rationale in terms of the decisions we've made. Because we as developers, sometimes we have to put our blinders on, we have to focus in on the task at hand, but it's sometimes also useful to understand that transition and that process to get to the point of actually delivering a feature or a function or an enhancement to you. Having that conceptual knowledge from the beginning to the end of delivery actually empowers you in your organization so you can talk functionally and relevantly within your organization in terms of how to adapt and utilize Java in your enterprise. So I would encourage all of you, based on all the various projects that we have going on at OpenJDK, find the ones that you find purpose in, either professionally or personally, and join those mailing lists, and at the very minimum, listen to the discussion, or at the most, participate in it. Because, like I said, your voice matters. We've also published over the years a new Oracle OpenJDK Developers Guide. This is basically like your tenet in terms of how to do PRs, how to do file a bug, how to potentially build your own your own JDK instance. We want to make this as seamless as possible because your needs change over time. Sometimes you might be using a distribution of Java. Sometimes you may build your own. Sometimes you may want to participate. How do you do that? And so we want to make this as frictionless as possible. And we continue to evolve this developer's guide. This isn't static. There are areas we can absolutely improve on. And as you read through this material, as you absorb it, it's up upon you to let us know what can we add to this and make it additive such that there's value beyond just the foundation of information in the guide itself. Now, participation also comes in the form at OpenJDK in terms of how do I contribute to the innovation? And this definitely does take a bit of what I would call personal risk, because you are putting yourself out there. And all of these levels of participation come with some level of accountability. So you can either start small or go complex. And for a lot of the developers that are starting out there, we see a world where many companies are trying to understand what have you done, what have you contributed, and participating in OpenJDK is a mechanism to actually put on your resume to say, maybe I was an author, maybe I was a committer, and you can then focus in on those things that you've contributed into OpenJDK to help you kind of stand out. But remember this, your participation doesn't just help you, it also helps the technology. Because we're always greater by the collective input that we have beyond what we are doing as the leaders and the stewards. Now, we also need your feedback. Now, we have a lot of smart people with hundreds of years of expertise on the Java team that have made it a career to build both the language and the platform. But your feedback helps us refine that innovation. And through our distribution of Java every 6 months, we also are able to sometimes introduce preview features, incubator modules, and experimental features. And this really is your chance to give us feedback. Because in the case of, I'll give an example, preview features from our perspective are pretty much final. We think it's production quality, but think about this. Of tens of thousands of businesses and hundreds of thousands of use cases out there, how can we nail all of them? We only know that through the input that you provide us. So give us that little bit of extra information and feedback, and then eventually we want to be able to take those preview features and deliver that as a standard within our distribution. Now, I started in NetBeans. I know all of you probably have your own IDE of choice, or maybe you didn't even start with an IDE, or using VI or Emacs or some other tool for development. But for me, tools matter. Right? Tools help accelerate development. And for me, that's one of the beautiful parts of Java, is not just the power of the language and the platform, but the tools that we also provide to you as developers to accelerate your productivity. Because in many cases, you're being measured on your productivity in your enterprise. I personally, one of my favorites is JDepreScan. There are times when we're going to deprecate a feature, and sometimes you may have an application that's maybe in existence 5, 6, 10, 20 years, and you want to be able to identify the things that have been deprecated so you can start planning for the future for eventual removal. And this is important. For me, this is one of the most unique tools that we have because, in my family, my father is quite the gardener, and he has this metaphor of gardening is to coding. We sometimes have to prune the tree for it to flourish. And you can almost look at JChipper Scan in terms of helping you identify where should I eventually do that pruning to improve my application, the tree. 28 years of innovation also comes with the fact that a lot of the work has already been done by someone else. You don't have to necessarily build things from scratch. Think of the hundreds and hundreds of tools, libraries, and frameworks that are out there that already exist that you can leverage. And that's what happens when there's a maturity to the language. A lot of the work has already been done. A lot of times you don't need to recreate the wheel and leverage the innovation that has already been updated or out there in terms of what's been pushed. Now, like I said, feedback matters. And something that didn't exist when we were pushing out major releases was the ability to get early access builds into your hand and get input at the beginning sort of the process. And we shipped Java 20 today. You can already get early access builds of Java 21, which is shipping in September. Here's your chance to sort of cut your teeth on the cutting edge to kind of see what it's going to do for your application in your environment. So early access builds is a great way for you to, again, share your feedback and make yourself stand out in your organization to identify the challenges or opportunities that that specific Java build may offer to your workload. Now, I'm going to pivot a little bit here in terms of some of the newer areas. And some of these may not sound new, but they're still what I would call modern ways of communicating, modern ways of engaging, modern ways of sharing. And social has brought us to a place I never thought it could. It has tapped every corner of the world, especially on Twitter. We see a very active and vibrant Java community that continues to live there. And it's inherent upon us that we continue to push out information through a social mechanism. Now, many of you may follow at Java on Twitter, and some of you might follow at OpenJDK on Twitter. And you might say, well, why does the Java team have two different Twitter channels? That's a really good question. And so a lot of times you have to, again, think about what is the modality of information in terms of my consumption. Some developers want just purely a technical story fed to them in the way that they want it addressed socially. And so at OpenJDK is meant to really highlight the technical enhancement, updates, and information that comes from the OpenJDK project. Now, at Java is a bit more broader. So not only do we talk about the language and the platform, we talk about the community, the ecosystem, the innovation. You can think of it as sort of an umbrella coverage of all the things that's happening in the Java world. And so we'd welcome you to follow both of these handles if you are active on Twitter. This is kind of special to my heart. So the next dimension is Java user groups. If it wasn't for a Java user group, I don't think I actually would have started on Java. So my journey started with Java back in 95. And so if some of you are watching right now, like, oh, yes, we can tell from the gray hair and the beard. Yes, it's been that long. But if it wasn't for the fact that I attended a Java user group, I don't think I would have been introduced to the power of what Java can be. And so at the time, I was living in New York. And at the time, the very first Java user group that was started, the New York Java Special Interest Group, was established by local developers that were just trying to share knowledge on this new thing with 4 letters that sounds like a cup of coffee. I happened to go to a meetup. I happened to learn about this. I worked at Verizon at the time. We were looking at, how do we take applications that we're creating outside of doing them in special ways for different target environments, for different hardware. And this fit very well in the mobile story for mobile devices and set-top boxes and the whole cascade and portfolio of what Verizon was trying to look at. And from that meeting, I was able to go to the first Java 1. And a few years later, it literally transformed my career. And Java user groups has that ability. I mean, with over 360 Java user groups around the world, you are probably in proximity to a user group where you can meet like-minded peers to share information, share challenges, learn from each other, understand best practices, understand use cases, and for that matter, extend your knowledge. And we always tend to seem to thrive when we're amongst our peers. And Java user groups, again, is a great place for that to happen at a local level. Now, recently, we launched 2 new online portals. And for some of you, this might look like a return to the past, or as I say, back to the future. Just almost a year ago, we launched dev.java, and some of you have given us feedback that this looks awfully close to what I remember from Java Developer Connection. Just kind of in a different way, different information, but really this sort of like catch-all of all this Java information. And that was our intent. We took inspiration from Java Developer Connection. It was meant to be the hub and place of conversation and learning. So we have learning tutorials there that we continue to update that touch various levels of your Java skill set, whether you're a novice or intermediate or advanced. We're trying to ensure that there's a full collection of learning material there and tutorials to advance from the state you're at to the state where you want to go. We also house all of our community information. How do I get in touch with a Java user group? Which one is local to me? Who is running that? Other things like Java events. And we live in this unusual world right now where sometimes we're traveling, sometimes we're not. Many events are moving in the direction of hybrid formats, sometimes online, sometimes in person, sometimes both. We try to update that as best we can. And so again, dev.java is meant to be that full one-stop shop of all of the things that Oracle is investing in to accelerate and push your Java knowledge forward. Now, inside.java is slightly different. We have hundreds of engineers and developers that are publishing information, sometimes on their own, through their own personal voice, sometimes through official blogging channels or other platforms. And what we're trying to do is aggregate all of those conversations and publications into one place, basically through an RSS feed that's tagged. So if you're interested in something like Project Loom, you can see the full cascade of articles and publications and news posts that we've published on that project. Or perhaps it's on all the updates that we've been doing with Project Amber in terms of language enhancements to simplify the approachability to the Java language. This is your place to hear from the actual team, and we're looking to expand that as well. It's one thing to just hear from us, but we need to now pivot and also start to include the voice of the ecosystem in these portals and the information stream. And so look for updates from us in the future in terms of how we're going to include the community in that information stream and distribution. Now, it's one thing to read content. It's another thing to hear content. And so it's important we continue to invest in some new areas, such as our Inside.java podcast. It's great to make a connection when you hear someone. There's a human element to it versus just reading it passively. And so we try to target the areas of investments that we see are interesting in the community through the channels and the watering holes that we frequent. And then we try to find the actual expert in-house who can then expand on that topic through our podcast. And we have a full collection and library of podcasts that we've been doing for now almost 2 years, and we look to expand that catalog more and potentially, again, include the voice of the community in that delivery. Now, still to me, some of the best education is through courseware, and in some ways, certification programs may not have the shine it did in the past, but it's still a great way for you to stand out. And the official Java certification program is still offered through Oracle University. But we also understand that not everyone has gone through similar learning paths to eventually take the certification exam. We understand that. And so what we've done is we've created an Explorer program, a collection of 13 and up to 14 different modules for beginner-level developers that are starting in Java to start building up the skill sets such that they can eventually take their certification exam. And so we want to make sure there's a path for you to do this. Fully free of charge, you can earn a social badge. Again, another mechanism to help you stand out and extend your career. We live in a digital world. And one of the things we've done is truly a renaissance of the official Java YouTube channel. If you have not gone to youtube.com/Java, I would encourage you to do it. We have created curated content by type of topics, by type of activity. Recently, we eclipsed over 100,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can get that to 1 million. But truly, in terms of digital learning, YouTube has been a very powerful and effective tool, and so we do a lot of screencasts and webinars and on-demand content that you can consume at your own pace, both in short form and long form, at the official Java YouTube channel. So again, another resource, another asset in terms of extending your knowledge, in terms of participating in the community. I'm a bit of an oldie here. I still like my newsletters. I like it digested. I like for it to appear in my email inbox, and maybe some of you do as well. We have over 350,000 subscribers to our Java newsletter, which comes out monthly, which curates all of the updates and enhancements delivered right to your inbox. And so another mechanism, again, we all have different modalities. Sometimes I'm looking at my newsletter. Sometimes I'm on YouTube. Sometimes I'm quickly checking social. Sometimes I'm just listening to a podcast. Sometimes I'm going to a mail list. We want to make sure that breadth is as holistic and broad as possible to accelerate your Java learning. And I'm going to close with this. There's no better way to learn than by connecting with people. People has been foundational to the success of Java. And our Java developer relations team continues to grow. We're bringing in new expertise, new talents, all representing the various facets and opportunities around what Java can bring. And not only are we reachable, we're also publishing socially. So I would encourage you to connect with us, communicate with us, share with us your frustrations, your challenges, your fears, your excitement, and we will try to coalesce all of that into things that we can then produce on behalf of you and all of your peers that might have similar interests. So I'm very proud of the team I get to work with every day. Our goal is ultimately to make you successful. Our goal is to make you a better version of the developer you are today, so you have longevity in your career, the opportunity to participate, and be part of something bigger than just the technology itself. So I want to thank everyone on the team that I get to work with, and I also want to thank all of you. All of you have a part in this, and your feedback has been a direct result in terms of the channels and the programs we continue to deliver. So keep the ideas coming, continue to share with us through the mechanism that fits your needs, and know that we are always reachable. We're a globally distributed team, and we're here to help you move the Java community forward. So thank you.